Hello and welcome to this edition of The Interview. Today our guest is Michel Sidibé. He is the head of UNAIDS. It is the agency at the UN that's in charge of fighting the epidemic. You have the rank of Deputy Secretary General at the UN. You've had a very long career at the UN, and we're going to talk about AIDS in a minute. But first, I'd like to address an issue, which is the fact that some NGOs in the United States, including AIDS Heritage Foundation, Health Foundation, are accusing you in the way you have handled a sexual harassment problem that arose inside your organization, and they're asking you to step down. Now, what I'd like to ask you is, what is your version of what's happened?
So let me just start by saying thank you to you for raising this question. I think this issue is very complex, deep-rooted in our society. And I am very happy that we have a Me Too movement, that this Me Too movement is pushing all of us to really address in very transparent way these issues. We don't say that what we are doing is certainly the best which could exist in the UN organization. I don't know any organization, by the way, including France 24 or anyone else, civil society, governments and others, who are immune from this problem. We need to address it. We try to do our best. Personally, you ask me the question, and I want to say that I did follow the procedures from A to Z. When I received the complaint on this, I just said 7 November 2016, 9 November, I asked for independent investigation against my deputy. The investigation commission sent back a message to me saying that they cannot investigate because it was time barred. Because after 6 months, this complaint came 18 months later, they cannot do it. I asked to waive these rules to make sure that investigation could happen. During the investigation, I asked if I could suspend my deputy. The lawyers told me, you have no right to suspend. I just don't want to spend because given the new allegation, we asked to reopen the investigation in the Secretary General office to make it probably more independent. But more than that one, I asked to have an independent investigation groups of experts to come to really look at on all the things we have been doing. So I cannot say that I've been perfect. We introduced also a 5-point plan. We have one of the best parity in the UN today as the UNAIDS. I have almost 54% of the total staff were women. I have 49% of my high-level staff as head of offices were women. 5 years ago, it was only 23. But it's not the issues. The issues is that we need to change the culture. We need to make sure that we have a more victim-centered approach. We know that certainly is happening, more cases are there, but we will address it. I'm committed to do that.
You've been attacked quite personally on your way of managing this crisis, including by Martina Brøndström, who actually gave an interview to Christina Manpour on CNN. And she says that you offered her promotion for her to just hush this story. There's also this staff meeting where you addressed the whole of the staff of your agency, or at least part of it, where you said that people who were making these allegations had no work ethic. You said that the person who is indeed under investigation, Mr. Luiz Loures, your deputy, was very courageous for stepping down and leaving his post. First, is it true that you offered promotion?
Let me tell you,
yes,
it's a very important question because the promotion process, I cannot offer promotion. We have a full process. The first supervisor of a complainant ask for promotion for the supervisor, for the complainant. The second supervisor asked for a promotion. And I can tell you, the letters of complaint I received, the last paragraph of this letter said, I hope this complaint will not damage my career and block me for my promotion. So the promotion process, she deserved it. And anything we did was to really make sure that she can have, like any other staff, have a protection which is needed. So I never did anything like that. And I want to say, I am sorry. I'm sorry, and even I apologize. If during my address with the staff, when I was saying to someone who worked 22 years with UNAIDS, that thanks for your 22 years work, thanks for taking the courageous decision, because it was found by investigator, not me, that the case was unsubstantiated. So saying that you step down, it will help us to move on. And anything I probably, if I did, was not intentional. And if I offended anyone, I said during this meeting, I just said apologize. I apologize for that one because it was not intentional. I never tried to really protect predators against victims.
One last question about this issue, and then we'll move on to AIDS, but I'd like a pretty short answer if you can. AIDS, which is one of the biggest NGOs fighting the epidemic, is now asking very formally for you to step down. They've written to Antonio Gutierrez. They've asked Nikki Haley to pressure the Secretary General. Do you think you can hold on to your post, and do you think you still can work in an efficient way given this?
Yeah, I think anyone has the right to really express his voice. And I think it's very important. We are in the world which need to be transparent. And if they are calling for change, that is their right. But I want to say many others also probably wrote to the Secretary General, wrote to the member state to say, okay, we are seeing a strong commitment. And I want to say this, I will do anything I can, like I did for making sure when I was fighting to make sure that people who were hiding themselves, going underground, gay communities, to make sure that they can have a voice, giving treatment to people when it was needed, joining the forces of those women. I think I will do all I can to make sure that I will address the same issues in UNAIDS, to make the culture change. We had a strong board meeting where we had a strong discussion on the way forward. I introduced 5-point plan action. Like I said, I call for making sure that we have today 24 hours hotline on 6 languages. Anyone who wants to call can call. But it's a serious issues. We need to address it, not just in UNAIDS, in UN, and Secretary General is very committed to make sure that the change will happen. And I will do my part.
Back to AIDS, which is your main job. You're going to publish a very important report, which is called Miles to Go. Where do we stand now?
Miles to go. It's very important. It's just showing that we have been making progress with a civil society movement, with the private sector, with a government commitment, leadership in different part of the society. We are seeing today more and more people on treatment. No one could have believed that we would have 21.7 million people on treatment today. Just in 2001, like I was saying, less than 90 people were on treatment public services in South Africa. Today, there are 4.3 million people. We're seeing change happening in different parts of the world, but it's also translated into a reduction on death. For the first time, we have less than 1 million people who have been losing their life in 2017. Since in early of this century, we never managed to go below 1 million people. But at the same time, like I want to say, I'm seeing a growing conspiracy of complacency.
What do you mean by that? Can you explain?
It's very important. You know, before we're fighting the conspiracy of silence, people were not accepting. They were thinking that this disease is the disease of others. And they didn't want to even talk about it. Today, we managed to break that. But today, we're seeing this complacency. People are seeing a result. They are not seeing people dying anymore. They are seeing medicine made available. The recipe is there to control the epidemic. And that complacency is translated into, first, less protection, a very serious crisis on prevention. We are not seeing decline on new infection, or a very small decline during the last 5 to 10 years. I can just say 16% decline when we want to have a 75% decline. But my big concern is that we need really to pay attention to this epidemic. We can win against this epidemic. If we don't pay now, we'll pay forever.
So you're calling on to donors to carry on financing these campaigns, because I just want to remind everyone, your objective is to rid the world of the AIDS epidemic by 2030. So I'm afraid that's all we have time for. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. You can watch this interview again on france24.com.
The Observers, presented by Derek Thompson.
Take a new look at the news. Eyewitness accounts from those at the heart of the action, all over the world. Exclusive videos you've never seen before, all verified by our journalists.
The Observers, on France 24 and France24.com.
Here at France 24, we're taking a broad outlook by talking about the women who are reshaping our world.
En France 24 en español no tenemos temas vedados. Y eso se puede ver en televisión y en todas las plataformas que tenemos en Internet.
في فرنسا 24 لا ننسى ونحجز لكم أسبوعيا تذكرة عودة للمدن والمناطق التي كانت في قلب الأحداث قبل أن تدخل في طي النسيان.
France 24, c'est la recherche permanente des meilleurs spécialistes pour vous permettre de déchiffrer l'actualité.
Claro que tiene algo especial, somos todos de distintos países y trabajamos con todo el corazón para entregar información en el momento preciso.
أخبار سياسية واقتصادية وثقافية وأيضا رياضية بأعين خبراء رياضيين. هذه هي قناة France 24.